All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. Roll call was taken, and now we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 3, review, revise, and approve the agenda. Are there any trustees who would want to move or remove an agenda item? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as written. Moved by trustee Sherman, second by trustee Decker. Any public comment on the agenda item? Seeing none, all those in favor for approving the agenda for January 10th, 2023, please indicate yes by raising your hand. Unanimous to all trustees present. Trustee Vogel? Trustee Vogel?
Ask her to unmute.
Can you please unmute Trustee Vogel?
Hello?
There you go. Trustee Vogel, a yes or no for approval of the agenda? Oh, we might have lost her again. Oh, there we go. Nope. Should we move on? Should I wait for a vote?
Did we lose her altogether?
I don't know.
Tracy, have we lost her? Can you tell?
Hello, this is Trustee Bogle.
Hi, Trustee Vogel. I just asked for a vote on yes or no for approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. What is your vote? Trustee Vogel, we'll move forward. The motion is passed. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 4, the approval of minutes. We have 3 different minutes we need to go through, so I'll take a motion for the approval of the December 9th, 2022 special board meeting. Moved by trustee Whip, second by Vice Chair Walker Andrews. Any trustee comments? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, all trustees in favor for approving the special board meeting of December 9th, 2022, please indicate yes by raising your hand. Unanimous to all trustees present. Trustee Vogel? Perfect. Unanimous to all trustees present. Minutes approved. On to item B, the approval of the work session minutes on December 13th, 2022. Is there a motion? Moved by trustee Decker, second by trustee Sherman. Any trustee comments? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, all trustees in favor for approving the work session minutes on December 13th, please raise your hand for yes. Unanimous to all trustees present. Moving on to item C, the minutes for the regular board meeting of December 13th. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Moved by Vice Chair Hobbins. Second by trustee Sherman. Any trustee comments? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing none. All those in favor for approving the regular board meeting minutes on December 13th, please raise your hand indicating yes. Unanimous to all trustees present. On to item number 5, which is the public comment. The public comment portion of the meeting is set aside for the public to address the board as a body. It is not a time for board response or for the public to ask questions. Do not infringe on the right to privacy of others. Please sign in and spell your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The chair may interrupt or terminate an individual if the statements are out of order and not in the growth perspective or over 3 minutes. Any public comment? Seeing none, item B is correspondence that was sent in, and we have those. No oral report. On to item number 6, which are the reports and announcements. And item A is the student trustees, and we'll go over to PAC.
Hello everyone, I am representing Big Sky High School, and this is the latest report. Our school's National Honor Society is hosting a peer tutoring sessions in the week prior to finals to help students at Big Sky with their upcoming tests and homework for the end of the semester. Big Sky is also planning the GOAT game. Our theme this year is Disco in the Nest. Have been lots of planning sessions involving as many students as possible throughout the school, including theater, art, student government, and booster clubs. Health Science Academy juniors and seniors are starting job shadows soon, in which they will be going to community to learn about jobs they are interested in pursuing. Key Club has been partnering with the food bank to creating Empower Packs for MCPS District K through 12th school. The Art Club is putting on a fundraiser in a form of painting workshop, encouraging students to broaden their skills, creativity, and learn how to paint landscapes from fellow Big Sky students. This event will be on January 24th from 5:30 to 7:30, and all members of the community are encouraged to attend for $20. 3 Big Sky students also traveled to Denver to participate in a preliminary procedure contest at Western National Roundup. The Missoula County 4-H team was comprised of 3 Big Sky students and 1 soon-to-be Big Sky student. They took first place in their event. Activities going on in Big Sky with wrestling. We just finished the LaProw tournament in Bozeman and getting ready for the Rocky tournament on Friday at Sentinel. The JV meet, the John Fisher on Saturday, is at Big Sky. 2 of our wrestlers took top 2 at Bozeman this past weekend. Basketball, our girls had their home opener on Saturday and fought well to end against Capital. Our boys team has a great turnout this year and is hoping to find a win today in their crosstown game against Sentinel, as well as the girls going up against Sentinel at 5:30 before the boys game. Swimming. In Butte this past weekend, the Big Sky Frenchtown Loyal swim team had 14 swimmers. The girls 200 freestyle relay won, and the girls 200 medley relay got in top 3. The Big Sky girls swim team has been placing in the top 3 at their meets, and they have another coming up this weekend in Missoula. Finally, with speech and debate, Big Sky Speech and Debate traveled to Corvallis this past weekend for a tournament and represented Big Sky well. The team placed 4th overall and had 5 finishers placing in the top 8 of their events. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to Hellgate with Chloe.
Hi everyone, I'm Chloe and I'm representing Hellgate High School. So our clubs at Hellgate try to serve those in need within the Hellgate community and beyond our walls. So we are looking forward to a couple events this month. There's a Key Club blood drive from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on January 31st. And 2 members of our National Honor Society are hosting a benefit concert to raise money for the instruments in severe disrepair within MCPS. And we encourage all community members to join. It is on January 20th in the Hellgate Orchestra Room. BPA regionals are being held today at the Missoula College, and we have a number of students attending from Hellgate. One of the initiatives that is happening within Hellgate Student Government is we are analyzing our 2023 resolutions within the whole school and posting a big poster in the Commons area. And then our Golden Goat game planning is also in full swing. Our theme for this year is Shootin' for the Stars. And then we just finished up our annual holiday activities and celebrated our first Hellgate Orchestra concert within Hellgate Happenings. And for the first, I think it's been 3 years since our last holiday orchestra concert. And then for finals week, we are emphasizing mental health within our student body. within our Hellgate Happenings, which is our broadcasting system for the whole school. Thank you.
Quick question for those who may not know, can you describe what the Golden Goat is?
Yeah, so the Golden Goat game is a crosstown basketball game that has historically been held between Hellgate and Sentinel, but this year we are actually holding it between Hellgate and Big Sky, which is super exciting. And more than a basketball game, it's actually a spirit war. So what it is it encourages the students to be positive and kind of bring that sort of hype for their school and be super excited to support the members of our school community and our athletes and each other during the sports season. And it's happening February 17th this year, and it's going to be hosted at the Adams Center, and it's both a girls and boys game. And we win Gertie the Golden Goat, which is a big trophy. And so it's an honor to have held Gertie for the past 3 years, and I think we're looking at a very large challenge with Big Sky this year.
Thank you so much for explaining that. Now we'll move on to Sealy Swan High School with Owen Online.
Hi, everybody. I'm Owen, representing Sealy Swan High School. Both our boys and girls basketball teams are doing very well this season, with only one in-conference loss for the girls and 2 in-conference losses for the boys. The basketball teams both have really high playoff hopes, and hope to do well at both districts and divisionals this year if all goes well. Our BPA club was at regionals in Missoula today. We took 9 delegates. They got home right when school got out today, so I was unable to talk to them about how regionals went, but I'm sure they represented Sealy Swan well. Our student government and Leo's club are both fairly inactive. Currently, coming off of winter break, everybody's just kind of focused on end of semester and getting grades up for the end of semester. Today, we were lucky enough to experience a performance by a string trio, courtesy of Alpine Artisans. That's all I have for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Owen. And we do have a couple that the superintendent will read.
So this is Sentinel's report. The girls and boys basketball has entered full season mode with 60 games scheduled between the 2 teams. Wrestling has the Rocky Mountain Invitational coming up this weekend in Missoula. Wrestling has 16 different tournaments scheduled for the season. Swimming has a meet this Saturday in Kalispell and are over a month into their practices. However, the Grizzly Pool has experienced staffing issues and practices have been moved to Currents. Team has been super flexible as the practice schedule was greatly impacted. The cheerleaders, the dance team, and the pep band have all been present at Sentinel basketball games. The Sentinel Athletic Director, Stephanie Tennis, would like to invite the board members to see the updated gymnasium at Sentinel, complete with a renovated flooring and a brand new stage curtain. $2,400 was raised by Sentinel organizations to help offset the cost of the curtain. And finally, Sentinel has been emphasizing the importance of grade checks, particularly freshmen and sophomore, continuing their commitments to help students learn the balance of athletics and academics. Speech and debate is preparing for the state tournament in Billings, January 27 and 28. They also had a workshop event this past Saturday to work on events and team bonding, and had a successful showcase to family and friends just before the winter break. Sentinel Speech and Debate is also looking forward to when they host the NSDA National Qualifier Tournament for the Western Division of Montana, February 10 and 11. This event will use every single classroom within Sentinel. And the German Club had their first meeting today, introducing students to German language and culture. Academic World Quest started practicing for their one competition at the beginning of March, where they are focusing on current events and important global, political, and economic issues. And then the other report is from Willard. Willard reports that the third quarter for Willard begins January 24th for those seniors who qualify. High-set options start this day as well. For our seniors who have elected to do dual enrollment, classes at the Missoula College or University of Montana begin January 17, and some seniors may have an overlap in their schedule. And they would like you to know that January 19th is their next senior celebration from 10:15 to 11:15 with a modified school day. And that wraps up those reports.
All right, thank you. So 6B is the Health Insurance Trust Fund report. There is no oral report. And 6C are announcements from the superintendent. So back to you, Mr. Lodge.
Yeah, two announcements tonight. They're really a nice thing to be able to share with you. So last spring, we had appointed on an interim basis a principal at Willard and a principal at Lowell. So the Willard principal was Cameron Johnson, and Ray Cooper was the interim principal at Lowell. And at the time, we talked about with the staff of possibly opening those positions up after a semester, or whether we wanted to just go with the candidates that we appointed. And so the last week, 2 weeks, we've been visiting with the respective staffs of each building, taking in feedback on what people thought, felt, and getting their reactions. And they could do it as a private message, they could do it in a general setting. And in both situations, the feedback came back overwhelmingly in favor of having those two folks stay in the positions they are in and not opening those positions up and simply appointing them. So that was really a nice thing to have happen. So it's my pleasure to tell you that Ray Cooper is now the permanent principal of Lowell School, and Cameron Johnson is now on a permanent basis at Willard Alternative High School. So those are two big wins for them individually, but then of course for the faculty and their communities. So I feel really like we're in a good place with moving forward with those two. Those are two folks who are going to be with us for a long time as administrators in the district, and I think they're going to have an impact over the next 10 or 15 years that are going to be felt by a lot of individuals. So pleased to announce those two appointments. And that kind of wraps it up.
All right, now on to item 7, the consent agenda. There is no board discussion for the consent agenda, as these items are routine items. If any board member wishes to discuss the consent agenda item, there must be a motion made, seconded, and voted upon to move the item onto the agenda. So 7A is finance, operations, and maintenance. It's to acknowledge MCPS students' attendance agreements. Is there an elementary motion to approve the consent agenda items? Moved by Trustee Witt. Second by Vice Chair Hobbins. No board discussion. Any public comment? Seeing none. All elementary trustees in favor for approving the consent agenda items, please indicate yes by raising your hand. Unanimous to all elementary trustees present. And now for a high school motion for the consent agenda items. Is there a motion? Vice Chair Walker-Andrews. Second by Trustee Sherman. No board discussion. Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor for approving the high school consent agenda items, please indicate yes by raising your hand. Unanimous to all trustees present. Unanimous to all trustees present, motion passed. On to item 8, old business. A is finance and operations. And it looks like topic 1 is school start and end date, time, bus schedule for 2023-2024. Over to Superintendent Russ Lodge.
Yeah, if I could have you turn to page 18 in the packet, if you haven't done that already, please. So we opened up the conversation to the community, to our staff, to parents, and we had 2,800 responses, which was really nice. And 3 options were presented. You can see those on page 18. And then you can see at the graph at the bottom of the amount of people who voted and what category they kind of fell in. And not everybody can do this, I want you to understand. So when you turn to page 19, not everybody can come up with 33, 33, and 33. Just want to let you know that's not easy to do. So, but you know, there's a story right there, and the story is there's varied opinions, and there's advantages and disadvantages, and a lot of stories. I did not read all 2,800, but I skimmed them, and I looked for themes, and you're welcome to take a look at them if you'd like to come and see them later, but we did not put them in the packet. It would have been a very large packet today. But in the end, the decision, we will stick with the schedule we have. We've been running it for a couple of years. This year particularly, it has flowed well. We still have a few minor things here or there, but overall, I think the common sense answer to all this is that we just stay with what we have and we continue on, and we've really looked at this schedule every which way we could have over the last 18 months, and I think this is probably the solution that we need to land on. So, option 2, correct, thank you. So option 2 on page 18 is the current schedule, and that's what we're going to run with. So just wanted to let you know that yeah, 33, 33, 33 is interesting. So, and that's a lot of responses. So really, it's an informational item, and it seemed to me that makes most common sense. I work closely with beach transportation. I work closely with all of our admin team. And then, of course, Casey Ballou, who's sitting in the audience, the union reps, everybody really has had a say in this whole process, which is what we wanted. So in the end, I think we're going to go with the option 2 and stay where we're at and move forward.
All right, again,
Thank you.
information only, so we're open to questions or comments by trustees. Vice Chair Walker Andrews.
I just wanted to thank the administration for taking the time to look at the schedules and to contact and listen to that many people, given that last year, I can't even remember when it was, but a long time ago, people were concerned, and you stepped up and looked at it.
Any other questions or comments by any trustees? Trustee Vogel?
We seem to have lost Trustee Vogel again.
All right, seeing no other questions or comments, any public comment? Seeing none? Okay, so again, it was information only, so now we'll move on to item 9, which is new business. A is finance, operation, and maintenance. The topic is budget and election calendar, and that is over to Mr. McHugh.
All right, thank you. So page 20 has our election and budget calendar. This is an annual item we look at. It's information only. The top half of the page on 20 includes the statutory dates. So some of those dates don't work because they land on a Sunday and whatnot. So we use those dates because they're on or before dates and deadline dates to help build the remainder of that page and the following page, which includes some dates where we would bring items to the board, including in February when we would look for the calling of the election for both trustee elections and levy elections. We usually include the levy elections both for operations and building reserve at that time, knowing that they can be canceled down further along the time frame. Within the schedule, you'll also see the Tuesday, March 14th meeting. The board's required to set or provide estimates of permissive levies by the end of March, and so we'll meet that first meeting in March and talk about permissive levies, and these are for the building reserve, the tuition fund, adult ed fund, and transportation fund. And again, they're estimates. We provide the community with estimates of what they might be in terms of increases or and impacts upon mills and taxes. We will be talking with the board in February with some more updated budget projection informations for the general fund. Our February enrollment count happens first week in February, and that's our second enrollment count, so we'll have better idea on projections at that point in time. We'll also have our demographic information completed, so our report should be back by the end of this month, and we'll be able to utilize that information to project further down the road. And that meeting in February, our second meeting in February, will follow our regular committee meeting by our Budget and Levy Committee. So there'll likely be an update after that meeting as well. So.
All right, again, this is information only, so are there any questions or comments by a trustee? I have a comment. The first meeting in February will be on the 7th versus the 14th.
Perfect.
Any other questions or
you.
comments? Seeing none, we'll move on. Oh, any public comment? All right, moving on to topic 2, which is to approve the short-term lease with Child Start Incorporated. Back to Mr. McHugh.
All right, thank you. I think as most of you know, our Whittier building, which houses the Head Start program, was severely damaged by some water about a month ago. Burley McWilliams is here to talk a little bit about that damage and what the repairs might look like in terms of time frame. In the interim, we moved the Head Start folks into some space in Cold Springs, and in doing so, the purpose of this agenda item is to request your permission to enter into a lease with Head Start. They're already occupying the building. As mentioned, it was an emergency sort of shift of space. We anticipate the lease lasting through the end of June or July, and so this lease will term out at the end of June and then go on a month-to-month basis until we're able to move them back into the Whittier space. The lease terms, we haven't ironed them all out exactly, other than the term going through the end of June. We have Superintendent Lodge has a meeting with their director, but we'll figure out the remaining term is really the rent, but everything else is kind of lined up and consistent with our existing leases for our other tenants. And so I anticipate that will be finished up here shortly, but wanted to get the boards, really wanted to notify the board about the damage to the Whittier building and then let you all know that that Head Start's in the Cold Springs building and make sure that they are authorized under a lease to do so. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And Burley, you want to talk a little bit about the damage and some of the remediation that's taken place?
Yeah, thanks, Pat. So the leak, it was caused by just a small copper domestic water line leak. Really about a 3/4 inch break in a pipe, and we're guessing that it broke on probably a Friday night or a Saturday morning and flooded all over the weekend. Happened to be that the pipe was in a 3rd floor bathroom, so we know water runs downhill, and so it flooded. I would say probably 70% of the building had at least a couple inches of water in it. So it was pretty extensive damage. Mitigation's been completed. We're currently waiting for a scope of work and estimate to the insurance company from the mitigation company for repairs to put the building back as it was. And once we receive that, we'll likely get a second quote, which is being requested by the insurance company. So we hope to have those quotes done by the end of the month and begin repairing right away, and have repairs done hopefully this summer sometime.
Any trustee questions? Trustee Decker.
So the intention on our end and on Child Start's end, as far as we know, is to move back into Whittier eventually?
That's our intent, yeah. So we have space that's available for the child care center that's moving in, this collaborative effort through the United Way. And we have remaining space that we want to reserve for the school district. There's a significant development going out by Jeanette Rankin, and we're cautious about long-term leases of space in Cold Springs. So we want to preserve that space for district use. And the Head Start program takes up pretty much all the building that isn't earmarked for this child care group that's looking to move in. So it's you know, the Willard building is available, and it's been used since 1987 by the Head Start program. So it sort of fits location-wise for them, as I understand it, and then it fits our needs and our flexibility needs too. That's our intent.
Can I follow up? I guess thank you for clarifying about the child care program. I think, you know, I have an interest in that program, obviously, but I wasn't asking as much because of that as a North Sider wondering about the Head Start school, because of course the playground that's there and the equipment that's there is used heavily by Northside residents, and there's a lot of interest in the neighborhood in what's going on at the building and all of that too. And so that is just a topic that if you can keep us all really closely posted on what's going on with Whittier over time. It's one of those historic buildings that there are people in the neighborhood who really care a lot about what happens there. And that park, you know, the north side doesn't have a ton of parks, and a lot of kids on the north side don't have access to other recreation and stuff. And so that park gets a lot of use outside of the school day that Head Start has. So just a tremendous amount of interest in what's going on at Head Start, as well as Cold Springs.
Yeah, happy to keep you posted. I think at the moment, it's we have our insurance company involved, and so part of the planning for the repair work will involve their input and the contracted services for the repairs to get it back to the condition it was in.
I have a question. I'm always concerned about the space that we have for our students, and I understand Whittier is not a large space, but eventually the north side is growing. And, you know, we're talking about our students having to ride from the north side in middle school for at least 30 minutes and what that looks like. Would Whittier be able to fill that at all? Or I know we need more acres to have a middle school, or I'm just concerned about space for our students.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's one of the topics we'll discuss when our facility committee gets together, because there are 3 significant developments happening, and actually more, but 3 significant ones in Missoula, one on the north side, then one on Hillview, and one next to Jeanette Rankin, and then the south development as well. So we've been talking a bit about this and want to have this conversation with the facility committee as well, just contemplating how many students that might be brought in as a result of the development. The Whittier building is really a unique building. It probably would not accommodate a middle school, but there certainly has been discussions in the past about Emma Dickinson and whether that could be an alternative. And when you look at the north side, the building that's not being used, that's really an excellent facility, is the Mount Jumbo building. And so that potential to put that back in play will also be talked about, because it is a really nice building, and would be, you know, I think it's something that we've long wanted to bring back for the East Missoula community, is that building and our students in East Missoula. So I think there's a lot of discussion to be had about that. Just what you bring up, both the developments on the north side and that middle school conundrum in terms of travel.
Vice Chair Hobbins? Oh, Burley?
I was just going to add Trustee Decker's comments. I actually had a discussion with Child Head Start this week regarding opening that playground back up. So there's conversations taking place, and we should have some answers here at the end of the week.
Any other questions? Seeing none, so now I'll take an elementary board motion to approve the recommendation for the Child Start lease. Moved by Trustee Witt, second by Trustee Decker. Any final comments by trustees? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, all the elementary trustees in favor of approving the recommendation, please raise your hand indicating yes. Unanimous to all elementary trustees present. Motion passed. On to topic 3, which is to approve use of building reserve funds for Sentinel High School emergency repairs. Back to Mr. McHugh.
Thank you. So Burley's been busy with our own school district natural disasters, and so this is another example of that. Something that happened around the holiday break, and what I'm asking the board to authorize is use of building reserve carryover funds. So these are funds that have not been earmarked or allocated. They relate directly to the building reserves we've had in place in the past. And it used to be that districts that had building reserve levies in place would receive timber tech dollars from the state. And those funds we accumulated and we used on occasion. I think most recently we earmarked some for this building. And then when we've had year-end funds, we've restored them. So we've tried to keep them intact, and really for situations like this. So we're in the process of working through the damage at Sentinel with our insurance carrier, but there are things we need to get moving on, and so part of it is to shore up the roof, and Burley can talk a little bit about the need, but the agenda item is your authority to use some carryover funds from the high school building reserve. There's about $580,000 in carryover. And that does not include the amount that was earmarked or allocated for Burley's use when we haven't run a building reserve. So he still has some of those funds intact. Burley, you want to talk a little bit about the Sentinel structure?
Yeah, on a dark, stormy December 19th night, on December 19th, which was a Tuesday before we got off for break, I believe it was Tuesday, we had a couple students that were in what I call the small engines room. It's on that, I'm not sure how well the trustees know Sentinel, but there's kind of this separate wing for the CTE program where we have welding, ceramics, wood shop, and the small engines room. And there's a beam that goes through the center of it, and it kind of splintered off, and the roof sunk in, and the students let the teacher know that was over across the way in building 400. Russ, Amy, and I, and Trevor, and half the fire department, city police, they all responded, and we secured the building. The first issue became, it was evident, was that it was just before we were going into Christmas break where all those really, really cold temperatures were coming. And the gas main was literally 18 inches from the classroom that was impacted. And so we were concerned that if that caves in, that we could potentially have an explosion, for one. And two, that gas line actually went up the building and across directly over where the roof had caved in. Literally it went right across it. And so that was the main gas line to the entire school building of Sentinel High School, and which means we shut all that off, we shut all the utilities, we had no heat, except for in our science wing where the auxiliary gym is at. They have their own boiler, but everything else is covered by the main boiler plant, which was really concerning to us given the fact of the cold temperatures coming. So by the next day at 3 p.m. we had heat, the gas rerouted, Northwest Energy came in, relocated the gas main on a permanent basis, 50 feet to the east, and we had heat back on. So Northwest Energy, Apollo, Mechanical, Jackson Contracting Group. I mean, our community partners were so valuable in getting this done as quickly as we could possibly get it done. And then the following day as well, we started working with an engineering company to draw up some shoring plans to make that, to keep that building from basically caving in. And by the 23rd, we had it shored up safely enough to where we felt like we wouldn't lose the STEM center and we wouldn't lose the classrooms just to the north of that wing, which includes some special ed classes and some computer labs. So we were able to retain a lot of classrooms by getting that shored up and keeping that wing kind of separate from creating any safety concerns in the main building. And now currently we're working on, well, it's already complete. We have a shoring plan to gain those other classrooms back in that wing, which are 2 little classrooms and then a ceramics wood shop and the welding. So we should have that back scheduled. We're scheduled to have it back by the end of the next week. So by semester, which is the 23rd or 24th. And then we're working on a plan for permanent repair. And we're not anticipating having that small engines room back by the end of school. If we do, it's great. We don't really have a timeline yet, just because we don't have a design. We don't know what materials we'll take and what that beam will look like replacing. But the quick version of it is we're gonna shore that roof up by the end of next week, and then we'll be able to remove that beam and replace that beam with something else. So I don't think it's a 3-month project, but it's just, you know, I give myself a little bit of cushion here, but I think it'll be somewhat quick. I'm optimistic that way, but we're working with our insurance company. We've got to know our insurance company very well over the last month. So that's a quick version of that story on that stormy December night.
All right, any trustee questions? Trustee Decker.
Okay, nice job. And nice job just being so calm about all of this. That was a really big deal. And all the communication from the district was just awfully calm and matter of fact and very reassuring about the whole thing. And so that's been really nice. If the insurance company is gonna help pay for this, what do we know right now that we need to pay for out of the building reserve that the insurance isn't gonna actually cover? Or are we just gonna pay back this fund if the insurance comes through, if and when?
Yeah, the insurance proceeds would reimburse us, as this is just a necessary obligation to make the repair. So if they haven't accepted the claim, so once they do that, and then they'll adjust it and make a determination of recovery, then we would apply it against this, yeah. Or we could apply it.
Any other trustee questions? Seeing none, I'll take a recommendation, I'll take a motion for the recommendation. Vice Chair Walker Andrews, second by Vice Chair Hobbins. Any final comments? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none. All those in favor for approving the recommendation, please raise your hand indicating yes. Unanimous of all trustees present, motion passed. On to item B, which is personnel negotiations. And policy 1 is to approve the personnel report. Mr. Roth?
Hi, this is our routine monthly report. It's actually quite small this month.
All right, any questions from a trustee? Seeing none, a motion for the recommendation of the elementary personnel report. Moved by Vice Chair Hobbins, second by Trustee Decker. Any comments? Any public comment? All elementary trustees in favor for approving the elementary personnel report, please raise your hand indicating yes. Unanimous of all elementary trustees present. On to the high school, motion for the approval of the high school personnel report. Motion by Trustee Sherman. Second by Trustee Witt. Any final trustee comments? Any public comment? All trustees in favor for approving the high school personnel report, please raise your hand indicating yes. Unanimous of all trustees present, reports approved. Now on to item 2, which is to approve out-of-country travel requests. And that is over to Amy.
Hi, thank you. I think we have a representative here, so come on up and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Right. Oh, there we go. My name is Katie Weisguyver. I teach French at Hellgate, and I'm here to represent, we're kind of with three of us sharing this responsibility. So I'm representing my colleagues, Brendan Work, who is the Arabic teacher for the entire MCPS district at the high school level, and Milton Zinumbereto, who is our Spanish teacher. Thanks.
Katie, tell us about the trip. What do you got planned? What's going to happen? Fill us in.
All right, so we are going to leave shortly after school on, I believe it's the 13th through the 28th, and we are taking Hellgate High School French, Hellgate High School Spanish, and then all MCPS Arabic students. And we will travel to France, Spain, and Morocco. And then there is a family stay component, so our students will be placed with French-speaking families in France, Spanish-speaking families in Spain, and then Arabic-speaking families in the south of France and Spain. Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's been a while since we've been able to travel, so it's one of those traditions we're re-engaging with. It feels pretty good to be able to offer to students.
So out-of-country travel, we need a 6-month advance from the board. We're right at the 6 months. So that's why we're on the agenda tonight. And you may have some questions for Katie, and she can fill us in. Any trustees with any thoughts?
Trustee Decker?
Has anyone on your trip been to Morocco before? Any of the adults?
Yes, Brendan Work has traveled with students before. So we haven't with this company. The company that we're working with, Hellgate and Sentinel have traveled with them since the 1990s. But this is actually one of their first that they're combining and doing Morocco. So luckily Brendan has traveled before and done that with students. But yeah, I know that it's the cultural differences are a little bit different than maybe in Spain and France, but he had a great experience with students, and so he's confident that he actually picked the route in the city and helped the company with the planning. So we feel very confident that it's a great itinerary.
Trustee Decker?
I just wanted to say this is such a complete and thorough application with so much attention to detail. I know way back in the before days, before the pandemic, we saw a request from Mr. Work for some travel that the board had some questions about at that time, and there's not a single one of those that hasn't been addressed in this proposal. So just noticing that this is a really thoughtful and thorough, just a thoughtful and thorough application with lots of information about safety and students of different genders and how this is going to connect with their learning and how you're going to make sure everybody is safe and has a fantastic time. I'm just really impressed.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
How many Arabic-speaking students will be attending?
I believe, it's been a minute since I looked at the numbers. I believe we have 12 French students, 10 Spanish students, and 8 Arabic students.
Any other questions from trustees? Seeing none. So I will take a high school motion for the recommendation to grant approval for the out-of-country travel request. Moved by Trustee Decker. Second by Trustee Sherman. Any final comments by trustee? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing none. All those in favor for approving the recommendation? Unanimous to all trustees present. Motion passed. On to item 10, which is the Board of Trustees. Item A is the stakeholder input report. Yep, thank you for your presentation. The report has been included in the agenda, and you were able to have time to review it, and it is also posted on our website. I want to thank all those who took time to put their input into that report, all the different stakeholders, including the unions, the community, the students. I just wanted to see if there was any trustee comments on the stakeholder report. I wanted to see more student input thought was a big difference I noticed in the report was that the student section was a lot smaller compared to the other areas. So I think that's one thing we should really look at when we actually do bring on people for interview day, was more student participation on that part. That's my only comment. Any other comments, questions about the stakeholder report? Trustee Decker?
I guess one comment that I would have is that it's really heartening and refreshing to see such a diversity of opinions, and yet, while there are many different perspectives reflected, there really is a lot of agreement and consensus around some key and important both positives and challenges that the school communities are facing, and what people would like to see in a superintendent. I felt like, having read through it all, I came away with kind of a feeling of, okay, we kind of know what we're up to here.
Any other trustee comments? Nope. All right, and so now, any public comment? Seeing none? Okay, well, now we'll move on to 10B, which is the interview schedule for the superintendent candidates. And this is an information-only item again. And so the next meeting will be January 24th at 5 p.m. It is an early start. We will have some food, so don't worry. Steve Joel from McPherson and Jacobson will be in attendance for that, as well as the district's legal counsel. And this is a big part, and I wanted to make sure it's noted that due to the candidate's right of privacy, the trustees will screen the applicants in executive session. So that's one thing that the community has been asking a lot about. So I want to make sure that it's noted that we will screen those in an executive session. And so that, and for those that don't know online or who will watch this later, it's meaning that portion of the meeting will be closed to the public. After the screening is complete, trustees will reconvene in the public portion of the meeting, and we will make a motion to select the final candidates for interview. The superintendent candidate interview will be held Thursday, February 2nd. Candidates interview at separate times throughout the day. The morning of February 2nd will be with the board. Tracy Long will copy and prepare complete packets for interview meet and greets, and then the special meeting is scheduled for February 7th. We will not meet the 14th to select the new superintendent. Any trustee comments or questions? As it is information only. Trustee Decker.
So I know we had some conversation with the folks from McPherson about whether candidates are public or not public or all of that. So just to make sure that I get this straight, the names are going to be public, but our discussions in terms of screening are going to be private?
Nope, the district's legal counsel said due to the privacy rights of the candidates, that list will not be public. We will view those in executive session, but our finalists will be public. And so legal counsel will be here with us too throughout that, and I just wanted to make sure it's noted because I know a lot of the public were interested about that part. Vice Chair Walker-Andrews?
I'm asking the same question just to make sure I understand. So say we have 11 candidates that we're going to be talking about. I just made up that number. Those names will be kept private. But once we decide on 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, then those names will be released. Okay.
Yep, correct. And from what I understand, we have 14 candidates to date, and it closes tomorrow. Today? Okay, it's closed. Okay, so, but yeah, so that's what we wanted. Any other comments? But that's one thing I wanted to make sure that the community knew, that the candidate's right to privacy outweighs that. See no other comments? Oh, Vice Chair Hobbins?
Sorry, the meeting that's going to be on February 7th, then what time does that start?
It'll be regular time.
6
Yep,
o'clock?
6
Okay,
p.m.
Thank you.
The second is the interview day. The morning. So we'll have that whole day blocked out, but that whole day blocked out is for interview, candidates interviews, and it'll be based throughout. And then, did you send that? It was only to the agenda setting committee. Yep, so the next meeting, we'll go over that with the dates and times, but the second in the morning will be when the candidates meet with the board members. And that's the week where previously we said we would block out this week I think we set a January to whatever, and then that's the day that the agenda setting committee, the leadership, myself with the 2 vice chairs, chose that date. So the next meeting, we'll go over that. Trustee Witt?
Just a quick question. So on the second, is that going to be all of us at once, or are we doing it in separate things, or?
Nope, it's
Okay.
all of us at once. So there'll be notice to that because
Okay, yeah.
we'll be a quorum.
Okay.
Any other comments? Questions? Seeing none, again, information only. Any public comments on the interview schedule? Seeing none, it is 6:55 and the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Recording stopped.